Some days the shoulders, the arms, the neck could use a little bit more attention. In this practice today, we'll give that attention to that area. I like to use blocks and a blanket. If you've got those available, we'll use those. If not, you can improvise. We'll begin standing. Take your arms in a cactus position with your knees bent. Take the elbows forward and take your hands back slightly. It's not that comfortable to do this, but it allows your shoulder blades to hug in toward the midline. From here, take your right elbow under your left and see if you can take the hands in a prayer position. If the backs of the hands don't go together, no problem. Just find out how you can improvise to make it work for you and draw yourself down in the pose slightly and rise up. And let's come to the opposite side. Take your left elbow under your right, bend your knees, pull your hands in toward each other. Take the heads of the arm bones back by drawing from the elbows back to the shoulders and keep drawing the thighs back. Keep squeezing the arms in toward each other and release your hands to the mat. Come back to all fours position. In all fours position, if you have a block, you might want to use them now. If you don't, you can improvise. Have your blocks in a position so that you can take your elbows onto the blocks, take your palms together, draw your knees back, and release your head down. Now spread your fingers so you've got a nice engagement in the arms. Tuck your toes under. Draw your pelvis back. Draw your fingers back so that you get this nice engagement as you're pressing the elbows in toward the floor. Draw from the navel back to the spine to get more fullness in your back body. Allow your breath to be very full and very bright. And as you're ready, you can release your hands. Come to all fours position. In all fours position, tuck your toes under, draw back. Take the elbows to the mat, whether or not you had the elbows on blocks or not. And on the mat, do the same thing with your fingers reaching back. Press your elbows down just to get this nice wake-up call for the shoulders. Come back to all fours position. In all fours position, reach your right arm up. Now thread your right hand under your left armpit. Release your head down. Use your left hand as a kickstand to help just get a little bit more fullness here in your pose. You might even want to step your left foot back. Maybe even take the kickstand arm, your left hand, to your low back and open up even more fully. The back of the right hand is really pressing against the mat. Now release down, come back to all fours position. In all fours position, once again, take the hands in this prayer position, press your elbows down, draw the thumbs back toward your shoulders, press very firmly, find fullness in your breath, this nice engagement of the shoulders. It's creating this nice fullness here. Now release, come back to all fours position. In all fours position, reach your left arm up. Take your left hand underneath your right armpit and reach to the right side. Use your right arm as your kickstand. You can extend your right leg back. And in the same way, you can take your right hand to your low back, just to open up the area of the chest a little bit more. Now slowly release to come back to all fours position. In all fours position, step your right foot right between your hands. Give yourself a thigh stretch, so draw the right knee forward of the ankle. Take your hands right on top of the right knee. Now bow in, so back off slightly, bow in, draw down again, take your arms in a cactus pose, take your elbows forward, your hands back, open your chest. Now spread your wings, reach your hands nice and wide apart, release your hands to the mat, come to all fours position again. With your toes tucked under, draw back. Elbows to the mat, hands in a prayer position. Reach your fingers back toward your shoulders. Come to all fours position again. Take your left foot right between your hands. Take your hands right above your knee. Draw down for a nice thigh stretch. Now come back and bow in. Draw down again. Take your arms in this cactus pose. Take your elbows forward, your palms back, gaze up toward the sky. Go wide with the hands as you reach back. Release your hands down to the mat and step your back foot forward. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Take a wide stance. In this wide stance, take your arms in cactus pose again. Draw your right elbow under your left. Hug the hands toward each other. Maybe the palms can be hugging in toward each other. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. Draw your right elbow toward your right knee. On the next in-breath, rise up to lift yourself out of the pose. Release your hands down. Parallel your feet. Take your arms in that cactus pose. Take your left elbow under your right. Hug the hands in toward each other, whatever way works for you. And draw your left toes out. Bend your left knee. Bow again. Take your left elbow down toward the inner left knee. Keep the back foot solid. Inhale, lift yourself out of the pose and release your hands. Parallel your feet. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. Bow in. See if you can just get this nice ease about your movements. Soften. Take your interlaced fingers up toward the sky. Release your head. Bowing in this humble warrior pose. Place your hands to your low back. Lift yourself up. Come to the opposite side. Left toes turn out, your left knee bends. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Bow in. Lift your interlaced fingers up. Draw it down deeper. Place your hands to your low back. And rise up, lift yourself up and out of the pose. Let's make our way down to the belly now. Come to your belly with your forearms in a Sphinx position. Spread your fingers. pull in from the fingertips to the elbows, elbows back, and reach your heart forward. So the forearms are pulling back, the heart is reaching forward, the heads of the arm bones are drawing back. It appears as if you're not doing too much of anything, but the arms are actively and isometrically pulling back to get a little bit more opening of the upper chest. With fingertips spread, press the tip tops of the fingers and lift your elbows away from the mat. Come towards straight arms. Release down. Again, the Sphinx action. Pull from the fingertips to the elbows. Pull back as the heart just draws forward more, just through that strong isometric action of the arms. And once again, now you're pressing to reach your fingers toward the top of the mat. You are pulling back toward the back of the mat. Now you do the opposite action. And now take your elbows down, pull back as the heart reaches forward. Bend your knees, reach your hands back as if trying to reach the feet. On the in-breath, reach back to rise up. Exhale, soften. 2 more. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, soften. 1 more. Lift up. Hold the pose. Another breath. Lift up higher. And exhale, draw down. Release your feet down. Press your hands to the mat. Now you're pulling from the base of the hand toward the front of the mat. So do that strong isometric action. Pulling toward the front of the mat with the hands, you rise up, you release down, you pull isometrically and draw down. 1 more time. In breath as you lift up, exhale breath as you soften down. With your hands stacked, press your third eye into the stacked hands. On the next in-breath, lift your head up, exhale, take it down. Inhale, lift up, exhale. 1 more, lift up and come down. Take your hands in cactus pose as you're on your belly. Take your left hand so that it once again becomes a kickstand. Keep your right hand in that cactus pose. Roll over so that your left hip is on top of your right. You might want to even park your left foot on the mat. And just work to enjoy your breath. Just notice the sensations in your right shoulder. Release out of the pose. Come to a cactus pose again. In this cactus pose, keep your left hand where it is. Turn to face your right hand. Use your right hand as a kickstand. Roll over to the left side. Maybe you can park your foot. Maybe not, but see if you can just slowly get a little bit deeper. Start to open the chest a little bit more. Breathe in to really expand the front side of the body. Release out of this pose. Place your hands alongside your ribs. Come to a baby cobra. Lift up and exhale down. Now see if you can do most of the lifting with your back muscles. So your hands are barely touching and you lift up and draw down. The lifting is from not your arms, but your back muscles as you lift up again and come down. You lift up again and you come down. Release and come to all fours position. Take your right knee in front of your left. With the right knee in front of the left, take your feet nice and wide apart and see if you can sit down on the mat. If that's not working for you, maybe sitting on a block or a blanket might help. Take your right arm up and pat yourself on the back. Take your left arm back, and rather than looking for your right hand, just draw your left hand towards your right hand so that you can get this nice opening of the chest. Keep that. If you've got a strap, you might want to use that. Maybe you can take your left hand a little bit closer to your right hand. But for purposes of this practice, we're just trying to do the action of the pose here. Release now out of the pose. Take your left arm up, bend your left elbow, and just place your palm to your upper back. Take your right hand behind you. The back of the right hand just kind of moves up toward your left hand. You just get this nice openness of the chest. Now release out of the pose. Come to all fours position again, where you take your left knee in front of the right, take your feet wide apart, and draw down again. Now in the second cycle, see if you can go just slightly deeper on this. Take your right arm up, pat yourself on the back, bend your right elbow. Take your left arm behind, slide the back of the hand toward your right hand. And just see if you can go a little bit deeper here the second time around. You're hugging the elbows in toward the midline as you reach your fingers toward each other. Release out of the pose and take your left arm up, bend your left elbow, pat yourself on the back, take your right hand behind, slide it up toward your left. Press the back of the right hand, the palm of the left hand. Maybe you can find your fingers. Just keep this nice opening. I find that if you go too far in this pose, it tends to tighten your jaw and your neck muscles. So just go to where it feels like you're getting the stretch, but you're not overdoing it. And release out of the pose. With your feet forward, take your hands back and have your fingers point toward your toes. Bend your elbows, hug your elbows in, and just get a nice opening to the chest. Do that a few more times. Can you put a little bit more weight at the base of the fingers? So as you bend your elbows, you hug the elbows in, get this nice opening of the upper chest. Nice lift of the chin, pull the heels in, lift up, Enjoy this nice fullness. Release your pelvis down. Release your hands. Take your hands right above the knees. Draw your heart forward and exhale, draw back. Now start to use the strength of your legs. Pull your heels in toward your pelvis. Open the chest. Exhale, draw from the navel back to the spine. One more. Inhale as you rock forward on your sits bones. Exhale as you draw back. With your hands placed on the mat with the fingers spread, fingers in the direction of your feet, bend your elbows, hug in, get this nice fullness to the chest. Bend your elbows, hug in, lift the chest. Last time, bend your elbows, draw in, find that fullness, lift up the chest, lift up the pelvis, pull in from the heels to the fingers, and slowly release your pelvis down. Come to lie on your back. Take your arms in a cactus pose. Walk your feet toward your pelvis. With the feet as wide apart as the mat is, draw your knees over to the right. Lift your left arm up, and as if you're clapping your hands, take your left hand to your right. Lift up, back to cactus pose. Lift your knees up. Take your knees to the opposite side. Take your right hand to a prayer position with the left hand. Roll to your side. Open the chest again. Lift up your knees. Step your feet so they're hip distance apart. Take your elbows alongside your ribs with the palms facing each other. Inhale, pull the heels in toward your chest. Lift up high. Keep a nice openness of the chest, nice strength in the shoulders that we've been working on. And a fullness to the breath. Slowly release your pelvis down. Release your arms to the mat. Lift your pelvis again. If you feel like you can interlace your fingers and not tighten your neck muscles, go ahead and do that so that you get nice extension of the shoulders. Keep lifting the pelvis. Lift your heart. Keep your legs very active. Release your pelvis down and release your interlaced fingers. Take your knees up toward your chest, but just hold on to the kneecaps, but press the knees back. Get your legs more active by spreading your toes. Move side to side, just a simple rocking motion. It's a way to massage the pelvic area. And as you're ready, release your feet. Close your eyes. Find a soft and easeful breath. Thank you for joining me in the practice. Namaste.